The Empire ruled the stars for 12,000 years. They conquered 1,000 worlds. They crushed 100 species. They believed nothing in the universe could challenge them. Admiral sat in his command chair aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion. He was old, even by standards. His skin had darkened with age. His 4 eyes had seen countless battles. He had destroyed rebellions, burned planets, and erased entire civilizations from history. Now he commanded the largest patrol fleet in the Orion sector, and he was bored. "Status report," he said without looking up from his data tablet. "All sectors quiet, Admiral," replied his first officer. "No unusual activity detected." Made a small sound of disappointment. He missed the old days when enemies still had the courage to fight. These days, everyone simply surrendered. They had learned what happened to those who resisted. Then a junior officer's voice cut through the bridge. It was high and strange, filled with something had not heard in a very long time. Fear. "Admiral, we have a contact. Unknown configuration." Finally looked up. "Explain." "A ship, sir. It appeared from nowhere. No hyperspace signature. No warp trail. It simply appeared." "Identify it." The young officer's claws shook as he worked his console. "That is the problem, Admiral. I cannot identify it. It matches nothing in our archives. No known species. No known design. Nothing." Stood slowly. Around him, the bridge crew had gone silent. They were watching the main display, where a small dot of light moved against the stars. "Show me," commanded. The display zoomed in and the alien vessel filled the screen. It was beautiful in a terrible way. Sleek and angular, painted in colors of midnight blue and silver. It moved through space like a predator, smooth and confident. There were no visible weapons, no obvious engines, nothing that made sense to engineers. "How fast is it moving?" asked. "Sir," the officer checked his readings twice. "That cannot be correct." "Tell me." "It is moving at 0.75 light speed, without any detectable propulsion system." A murmur ran through the bridge. Such speed was impossible. The fastest ships could barely reach 0.3 light speed in normal space. "Where did it come from?" demanded. "Unknown. Our long-range sensors detected nothing until it was already here. It is as if it traveled from nowhere." Stared at the strange ship. In his long career, he had seen many things. He had seen species try desperate tricks to escape destruction. He had seen ancient weapons activated in final acts of defiance. But he had never seen anything like this. "Hail them," he ordered. The communications officer worked his station. "No response, Admiral. They are receiving our signal but not replying." "Then perhaps they need motivation." Turned to his weapons officer. "Target them. Do not fire yet, but let them see our guns." Across the fleet, 47 warships turned their weapons toward the unknown vessel. 200 support craft moved into attack formation. 15,000 weapon systems locked onto a single target. The strange ship did not react. It did not flee. It did not change course. It simply continued forward as if the entire battle group did not exist. Inside that ship, Captain Park stood on the bridge and watched the alien fleet surround her. She was a small woman with short black hair and calm eyes. She wore a simple uniform, dark with no decorations. Behind her, 47 crew members worked their stations in silence. "They have weapons lock on us," reported Lieutenant. He was young, barely 30, but he had been born aboard a refugee ship and had never known peace. His hands were steady on his console. "I see them," replied. "Orders, Captain." Did not answer immediately. She studied the enemy ships on her display. These were the creatures that had destroyed Earth. These were the monsters that had hunted humanity across the stars for 800 years. Her grandmother had died fighting them. Her parents had died running from them. Every human she had ever known had lost someone to these skinned killers. Now, for the first time in centuries, a human ship faced a fleet, not running, not hiding, just facing them. HANA said, addressing the ship's artificial intelligence. Analysis of enemy fleet. The AI responded in a calm female voice. 47 capital ships of the Dominion class, 200 support vessels, combined crew approximately 90,000. Weapons include plasma lances, fusion torpedoes, and kinetic accelerators. All weapons currently targeted on our position. Can we survive their first volley? Negative. Their combined firepower would destroy us in approximately 0.3 seconds. Engineer laughed from her station. She was older than most of the crew, with streaks in her black hair. Well, that is comforting. It would be, said, if we plan to let them fire first. She turned to face her crew. These were the last survivors of the Exodus program, humanity's final desperate attempt to preserve the species. They had slept for 800 years while their ship traveled beyond space. They had woken to find themselves alone, the last humans in a hostile universe. But they had not come back to hide. They had not come back to run. They had come back with something new, something their ancestors could only dream about. Said to her strategist, "What are they thinking right now?" Studied the enemy formation. They are confused. They have never seen us before. They do not know what we can do. They are clustering together because they are afraid of the unknown. Good smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. Let them be afraid. She pressed a button on her chair and opened a channel. When she spoke, her voice was cold and clear. Attention, fleet. This is Captain Park of the Earth vessel Final Word. We have come a very long way to meet you. She paused and let them wonder. We have not forgotten what you did to our world. We have not forgotten what you did to our people. And we are here to teach you something your empire has forgotten. Her crew watched her with fierce pride in their eyes. There are things in this universe more dangerous than you. Admiral listened to the human transmission 3 times. He did not understand it. Not the words, which his translators decoded easily, but the meaning behind them. This tiny ship, this insignificant speck facing the might of his fleet, was threatening him. It was absurd, it was insulting, it was almost funny. Humans, he said the word like it was a disease. I thought we destroyed them centuries ago. His first officer pulled up old records on his display. We did, Admiral. Earth was burned in the year 4217 of the imperial calendar. All major colonies were eliminated within 50 years. Scattered survivors were hunted down over the following centuries. The species was declared extinct 200 years ago. And yet here they are, gestured at the strange ship on his screen. One ship, 47 life signs. They sleep for 800 years and wake up thinking they can challenge us. He turned to his communications officer. Open a channel. Let me speak to this human captain. The channel opened and straightened in his chair. He had delivered this speech 1,000 times to 1,000 doomed species. Unknown vessel, you have entered sovereign imperial space. Your species is classified as extinct. Your presence here is a violation of imperial law. You will power down your engines and prepare for boarding. Your crew will be taken into custody for study. Your ship will be disassembled for analysis. Resistance will result in immediate destruction. He paused, waiting for the fear to set in, waiting for the begging to begin. Captain Park's response was not what he expected. No, blinked all 4 eyes. I do not think you understand your situation. You are one ship, I have 47. I can count, Admiral. His voice was perfectly calm. Your ships are impressive, very large, very well armed, but you know what I noticed about your fleet? Enlighten me. They are old. Your designs have not changed in 3,000 years. Your weapons are the same plasma lances you used against your engines are the same drives you have always used. She let the silence stretch. You stopped improving. You stopped learning. You conquered so many species that you forgot how to fight someone who might actually challenge you. Felt anger rising in his chest. No one spoke to him this way. No one dared. "You are brave for a dead species," he said, "but bravery will not save you. In 30 seconds my fleet will open fire, your ship will be dust, your crew will be memories, and humanity will be extinct again, this time permanently." "Perhaps," replied, "or perhaps you will learn why your ancestors started this war in the first place." On the bridge of the final word, Lieutenant looked at his captain with worry in his eyes. "Captain, they are charging weapons, all 47 ships." "I know. We cannot survive that kind of firepower." "I know that too." Engineer spoke up from her station. "Captain, the drive is ready. Pilot is connected to the neural interface. We can move whenever you give the order." Nodded, she looked around at her crew, at these brave souls who had followed her across centuries and light years. They had trained for this moment. They had prepared for this exact scenario. But training was one thing. Reality was another. "Everyone remember the plan," she said. "We move fast. We hit hard. We show them what humanity has become." She turned to face the main display, where 47 enemy ships were preparing to end her existence. She said, "Dance." Sat in her pilot chair with electrodes attached to her temples. Her eyes were closed. Her mind was connected directly to the ship's navigation systems. When she thought, the ship moved. When she dreamed, the ship flew. She had been chosen for this role because her mind worked differently than others. She could process spatial information faster than any human alive. She could see patterns in chaos and find paths through impossible spaces. The fleet opened fire. 6,000 plasma lances erupted in perfect synchronization. The space between the two forces became a wall of burning energy. Any normal ship would have been vaporized instantly. The final word was not a normal ship. To them, it looked like the human vessel simply disappeared. One moment it was there. The next moment it was somewhere else. Their targeting systems could not track it. Their predictive algorithms could not anticipate its movements. It was not dodging their fire. It was dancing through it. "What is happening?" screamed. "Where did they go?" "Everywhere, Admiral." His tactical officer was nearly panicking. "They are moving faster than our sensors can track. They appear to be in multiple locations simultaneously." On the final word, flew with her eyes closed and a smile on her face. The ship responded to her thoughts like a living thing. She could feel the enemy weapons fire as hot spots in her awareness. She slipped between them like water through fingers. The ship's drive bent space itself. It did not push through the universe. It folded the universe around it. This was the secret humanity had discovered in their centuries of exile. This was the gift of desperation and genius combined. "Captain," reported, her voice dreamy and distant, "I have a clear path to their flagship." Watched the chaos on her display. They were firing blindly now, their perfect formation dissolving into panic. "Take us in," she ordered. "Let us say hello properly." The final word appeared directly in front of Admiral's flagship, so close that he could see it through his viewport. It hung there, untouched, undamaged, while his entire fleet continued firing at empty space. Hal whispered, "How is this possible?" Captain's face appeared on his display. She was smiling now, but it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had waited 800 years for this moment. "Admiral," she said, "we have some things to discuss. First, you are going to withdraw your fleet from this sector. Second, you are going to send a message to your emperor. Tell him that humanity has returned. Tell him that we remember everything. Tell him that we are not the same frightened species he tried to exterminate." His anger had turned to something else, something he had not felt in centuries. "And if I refuse?" Smile faded. "Then I will show you what our ship can really do, and you will not enjoy the demonstration." She leaned forward in her chair. "You have 30 seconds to decide. Choose wisely." Admiral did not become the commander of the largest fleet in the Orion sector by being a coward. He had fought in 100 battles. He had crushed enemies who outnumbered him 10 to 1. He had never retreated in his entire career. He was not going to start now, not because of one ship, not because of some extinct species that had somehow survived. "Kill them," he ordered. "All ships, concentrate fire on that vessel, burn them out of existence." His fleet responded instantly. Every weapon on every ship turned toward the final word. The space around the human vessel became a storm of plasma, missiles, and kinetic projectiles. There was no way anything could survive such concentrated firepower. The final word moved again. It slipped sideways through dimensions that scientists did not know existed. It appeared behind the fleet, then beside it, then above it. Every time they fired, they hit empty space or each other. On the bridge of the final word, Captain watched the chaos with cold eyes. She had hoped the Admiral would be reasonable. She had hoped to avoid what came next. "They are not stopping," reported Lieutenant. "They have damaged 3 of their own ships trying to hit us." Stubborn said, "I suppose I should not be surprised. What do you recommend?" Her strategist studied the enemy fleet on his display. "They will not stop until we make them stop. They need to understand what they are facing. We need to demonstrate." Closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about Earth, the planet she had never seen except in old recordings. She thought about the billions who had died when they came. She thought about her grandmother who had fought to the last breath. "Engineer," she said quietly, "prepare the primary weapon." Nodded grimly. "Which target, Captain?" Pointed at a cluster of 5 warships that had grouped together for mutual protection. "Those 5. Let the rest see what happens." Deep inside the final word, systems began to activate that had never been used in combat. The ship carried only 12 weapons, but those weapons operated on principles that no other species understood. The primary weapon was simply called the Eraser by the engineers who built it. It did not shoot projectiles. It did not fire energy beams. It reached into the fundamental structure of reality and changed it. "Primary weapon charged," reported, "ready to fire on your command." Opened a channel to the enemy fleet. "Attention, vessels, this is your final warning. I am about to destroy 5 of your ships. If you continue attacking after that, I will destroy more. If you still continue, I will destroy all of you. The choice is yours." Admiral heard the transmission and laughed. "Destroy 5 ships. With what? You have not fired a single weapon." "Watch," said simply. She turned to her weapons officer, a quiet woman named Han who had trained for this moment her entire life. "Fire." Pressed a single button. The 5 targeted ships did not explode. They did not burn. They simply ceased to exist. One moment there were 5 warships, each carrying 2,000. The next moment there was nothing but empty space. No debris, no radiation, no bodies, just light, a brief flash of pure white energy, and then silence. Admiral stared at his display. His mouth hung open. His 4 eyes were wide with disbelief. "What?" He could barely speak. "What was that?" His tactical officer was shaking. "They are gone, Admiral, all 5 ships, 10,000 crew, just gone. Our sensors detect no residue, no wreckage. It is as if they were never there." Across the fleet, panic was spreading. Crews had watched their comrades vanish. Officers were screaming contradictory orders. Some ships were already trying to retreat. On the final word, nobody celebrated, felt the weight of what she had just done. 10,000 lives ended in an instant. It was necessary, she told herself. It was justice for Earth, but it still felt like murder. "Captain," said softly, "they are regrouping. It looks like they are preparing another attack." Sighed, "Then they need another lesson." She opened the channel again. "Admiral, I told you what would happen. I gave you a chance. You did not take it." "What are you?" His voice was different now. The arrogance was gone. In its place was something raw and desperate. "What kind of weapon is that?" "It is human engineering," replied. 800 years of work by the best minds our species ever produced. We had nothing but time and desperation. Do you know what that combination creates, Admiral? Miracles, or nightmares depending on your perspective. She turned to, target 10 more ships, the ones closest to the flagship. Captain, Lieutenant spoke up carefully. If we destroy too many, the rest might panic and scatter. We will lose our chance to send a message. Consider this. You are right, hold fire, she addressed the Admiral again. I am going to give you one more chance, not because you deserve it, but because I am tired of killing. Withdraw your fleet, send your message to the Emperor, tell him what you saw here today. And if I refuse again, then I will erase every ship in your fleet except yours. I will leave you alone, floating in space, surrounded by nothing. You will return to your empire and explain how you lost everything to a single human vessel. Her voice hardened. And then we will come for the rest of you. Admiral looked around his bridge. His officers were terrified. His fleet was in chaos. He had already lost 5 ships and 10,000 crew to a weapon he could not understand or defend against. For the first time in his long career, he gave an order he had never given before. All ships, he said, his voice hollow and broken. Retreat, maximum speed, return to Imperial space. The fleet fled. They scattered in all directions, their perfect formation forgotten, their pride shattered. They ran like prey from a predator. On the final word, the crew watched them go in silence. There was no cheering, no celebration. They had just changed the course of galactic history, and they knew it. HANA said to the ship's AI, "Record this location, record the date and time. This is where it started." "Recording complete, Captain. What shall I label this event?" Thought for a moment. "Call it the first lesson. There will be more." She turned to her crew, these 47 humans who had just defeated an empire. "Get some rest," she said. "Tomorrow we have work to do." The final word hung alone in the darkness, surrounded by empty space where 5 ships had once been. It was just one small vessel against an empire of 1,000 worlds. But empires were built on belief, and today that belief had cracked. News traveled fast in the empire. Within hours, every corner of their vast territory knew what had happened. The official reports tried to hide the truth. They spoke of an unknown threat, a temporary setback, a strategic withdrawal. But the real story spread through whispers and stolen recordings. Soldiers talked, officers leaked information, and soon everyone knew. A single human ship had faced a battle fleet. A single human ship had made that fleet run away. 5 warships had been erased from existence by a weapon nobody understood. Humanity was not extinct. On the Imperial throne world, Emperor received Admiral's report personally. He was ancient, even older than, and he had ruled for 600 years. He had overseen the extermination of 17 intelligent species. He had believed with absolute certainty that no power in the universe could challenge his empire. Now he read the report 3 times and felt something cold growing in his chest. "One ship," he said to his advisors, "one ship did this." "Yes, Majesty," replied his chief military advisor. "We are analyzing all available data. The weapon they used operates on principles we do not understand. Our scientists are working to find a defense." "And the humans themselves, how many are there? Where did they come from?" "Unknown. Our records show humanity was completely destroyed 800 years ago. This ship must have escaped somehow. We do not know if there are others." Emperor stood and walked to the window of his throne room. Outside, the city stretched to the horizon, a monument to power. Billions of his subjects lived and worked and worshipped him. He had built all of this through strength and fear. Fear, that was the key. The empire ruled because other species feared it. If that fear disappeared, if other species started to believe they could resist. "Find them," he ordered. "Find that ship and destroy it. Use whatever resources are necessary. I do not care if you have to send 1,000 fleets. They must be eliminated. Yes, Majesty, it will be done. But it would not be done. Not easily. Because the final word was already moving, already working, already spreading its own message. 3 weeks after the battle, Captain received the first transmission from a non-human species. The message came in a language HANA had to spend 4 hours decoding. It was from a species that had been enslaved by for 3,000 years. They lived as workers and servants, building ships and weapons for their masters, dying in mines and factories. The message was simple. Is it true? Did you really defeat them? Stared at those words for a long time. She thought about what to say. She thought about the responsibility she was about to take on. How did they contact us? She asked HANA. They intercepted one of the reports about our battle. They used a hidden transmitter to send this message. If they discover it, they will be executed. They risked their lives just to ask us a question. Yes, Captain, it appears they did. Called her senior officers to the bridge. Lieutenant, engineer, strategist, pilot Dr. Lee, and executive officer Shin gathered around her. We have a choice to make, said. They want to know if we are real. They want to know if there is hope. What do we tell them? Asked. The truth is that we are one ship with 47 people. We cannot defeat the Empire. We can hurt them, yes. We can run from them, but we cannot win. Dr. Lee spoke up quietly. He was the oldest member of the crew with white hair and gentle eyes. Hope does not require certainty. It only requires possibility. If we tell them the truth, that we exist, that we fought and survived, that might be enough. It might also get them killed, Shin pointed out. If they rebel because of us and fail, they will slaughter them. Nodded. That is the risk, but consider the alternative. They live as slaves. They have been slaves for 3,000 years. Is that really living? If we give them hope and they fight and fail, at least they die free. At least they die trying. The officers were silent. This was not a military decision. This was something bigger, something that would affect the entire galaxy. Captain said finally, what do you want to do? Looked at her crew, at these brave humans who had followed her into the impossible. I want to give them what we had, she said. When Earth burned, when everything was lost, our ancestors did not give up. They built ships, they escaped. They preserved our species against all odds. They gave us a chance. She paused. Now we can give that same chance to others. She sat down at the communications console and began typing a response to the. It is true, we are human. Our world was destroyed by the 800 years ago, but we survived. We built new ships. We developed new weapons, and now we have returned. You are not alone in your suffering. We know what it means to be hunted. We know what it means to watch your people die. But we also know that empires fall. Powers rise and fall. Nothing lasts forever. They seem invincible now, but so did they when they came to our world. We learned something in our exile. We learned that the most dangerous force in the universe is not the strongest weapon or the largest fleet. It is the will to resist. It is the refusal to surrender. We cannot promise victory. We cannot promise safety. But we can promise this: as long as we fly, we will fight. And we will never stop fighting until they learn what it means to face a species that refuses to die. Humanity remembers, humanity endures, and we are coming. She sent the message before she could second-guess herself. Over the following weeks, more messages arrived. They who had lost half their population to invasions, the who had been forced to serve as assassins and spies, a dozen other species, each with their own stories of loss and suffering. To each of them sent the same response, the same message of hope and resistance. She did not promise victory. She only promised that they were not alone. And slowly, something began to change across the galaxy. Slaves started whispering to each other. Workers began meeting in secret. Soldiers remembered that they had once been warriors for their own people. The Empire was still vast and powerful. Their fleet still controlled 1,000 worlds. Their weapons could still destroy planets. But for the first time their subjects were starting to believe that things could be different. They were starting to believe in something other than fear. They were starting to believe in hope. And hope was the most dangerous weapon of all. 6 months changed everything. They revolted on 17 worlds. They destroyed factories and sabotaged shipyards. Thousands died, but thousands more rose to take their place. For the first time in 3, soldiers fell to weapons. They cut the hyperspace routes in 3 sectors. Trade ships disappeared. Military convoys were ambushed. The Empire's supply lines began to strain. They turned their skills against their masters. 3 sector governors were assassinated in a single night. Imperial officials stopped traveling without armed escorts. And through it all, the final word moved like a ghost through space. It struck without warning and vanished without a trace. It freed prison camps and destroyed weapons factories. After every attack, it broadcast the same message across all channels. You are not alone. Admiral, desperate to redeem himself, was given command of the largest fleet ever assembled. 2,000 warships, millions of soldiers, enough firepower to burn 100 worlds. His orders were simple: find the human ship and destroy it, no matter the cost. He tracked the final word for 3 months. He followed its attacks, studied its patterns, and predicted its movements. Finally, he cornered it in an empty system on the edge of the galaxy. You cannot run forever, he broadcast to the human vessel. Today it ends. Today humanity dies for the second time, and this time it will stay dead. Captain stood on her bridge and studied the enemy fleet. 2,000 ships surrounded her. There was no escape route this time, no clever maneuver that could save them. HFY, she said calmly. How many ships can we destroy before they destroy us? Approximately 300, Captain. Perhaps more if we are fortunate. That is not enough. No, Captain, it is not. Looked at her crew. They had been fighting for 6 months without rest. They were tired and worn and far from home, but there was no fear in their eyes, only determination. It has been an honor, she said simply. The honor was ours, Captain, replied Lieutenant. Whatever happens now, we changed things. We showed the galaxy that they can be beaten. That is worth dying for. Let us make it worth living for instead, said. All hands battle stations. We fight until we cannot fight anymore. The final word powered up its weapons and prepared for its last battle. The fleet began to close in, thousands of ships ready to crush a single enemy. Then HFY spoke again, and her voice held something strange, something almost like wonder. Captain, I am detecting new signals, multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace. Frowned, reinforcements. Negative, the signals are human. From the darkness behind the final word, lights appeared. 1 ship, then 5, then 20, then 50. They emerged from hyperspace in scattered formation, ships of every size and shape. Some were sleek and modern. Others were old and patched together. All of them flew toward the fleet without hesitation. Stared at the display in disbelief. How is this possible? The answer came in a crackling transmission. A young man's face appeared on her screen. He had tired eyes and a fierce smile. Captain Park, I am commander and of the vessel Distant Hope. Sorry we took so long to find you. Where did you come from? Asked. We thought we were the last. So did we. For centuries we thought we were alone. Generation ships that escaped in different directions. Colony vessels that hid in uncharted space. Mining operations that went dark when they came. And smile widened. Then we heard your broadcasts. The message you sent to the spread further than you knew. We heard it. We found each other. And we came. More faces appeared on her display. A woman with hair commanding a converted cargo ship. A teenager piloting a vessel held together with tape and hope. An old man whose ship still bore the marks of battles fought before was born. 63 ships in total, not much compared to 2,000, but more than one. Captain continued, "We have been waiting 800 years for this moment. Give us our orders." Felt tears forming in her eyes, but she blinked them away. There was no time for emotion. There was only time for action. "All ships," she broadcast, "this is Captain Park, Formation Delta. Stay close to the final word. We protect each other, we cover each other, and we show these skinned monsters what humanity can do when we fight together." She turned to face the enemy fleet. Admiral was watching, his face a mask of shock and anger. "Admiral," she said, "I have a message for your Emperor. Tell him that humanity has returned. Not one ship, not one crew, a fleet, and more are coming." She leaned forward. "We are not done talking." The Battle of the Rim lasted 7 hours. It was the largest naval engagement in galactic history. 2,000 warships against 63 human vessels. The humans lost 19 ships. 417 crew members died. Each death was felt, each loss mourned. The lost 847 ships, millions of soldiers. Admiral himself was killed when his flagship was destroyed by a coordinated attack from 12 human vessels. It was not a victory, not really. They still had hundreds of fleets. They still controlled 1,000 worlds. They could rebuild and return. But something had changed, something fundamental. The galaxy had seen 63 human ships stand against 2,000 and survive. They had seen an empire bleed. Word spread faster than light. They doubled their attacks. They began openly fighting. A dozen enslaved species started planning their own rebellions. And across the stars, more human ships emerged from hiding. Colony vessels that had been drifting for centuries. Mining operations that had survived in the darkness. Families who had kept their heritage alive through generations of exile. They heard the call, they came home. 1 year after the Battle of the Rim, Captain stood on the bridge of the final word and watched a fleet of 300 human vessels form up around her. It was still not enough to defeat the Empire. It might never be enough. But it was a start. Lieutenant stood beside her, older now, with new scars on his face and new medals on his chest. "Captain, the fleet is ready. Where do we go next?" Looked at the stars, at the vast darkness that held both danger and promise. "Forward," she said, "always forward." The human fleet moved out, leaving the empty system behind. They flew toward the heart of space, toward battles yet to be fought and victories yet to be won. The war was far from over. It might last decades or centuries. Many would die before it ended. But humanity had spoken. Humanity had returned. And this time they were not going anywhere. The final word led the way, its name now known across the galaxy. Not just a ship, but a symbol. A promise that some things cannot be destroyed. Some spirits cannot be broken. Some species refuse to accept extinction. In the darkness between the stars, something old and powerful was waking up. And the Empire had learned too late what every bully eventually learns. Some victims fight back.